ever been golfing? My grandpa started taking me golfing when I was very young, and he still takes me to this day. I like golfing a lot, and one time when I was golfing with him, I thought, how did this come to be? I knew golfing did not originate in America, and that some of the courses are very old. So I looked up a little bit of the history of golf. Hello, my name is Dunkel, and today my presentation is about the history of golf. Early days of golf. Golfing began in Scotland, but the very beginning days of golf were unclear because at first it was just people hitting round rocks and pebbles with sticks. But the very first 18-hole golf course was the old course at St. Andrews in Scotland. This gave a lot of motivation to the game and became very much popular. But that wasn't all a great thing, because in the mid-14th century, the old enemy, or the English, waged war on Scotland. And instead of practicing and training for the war, people were golfing. So Scotland had to administer a golf ban. Now this didn't really work that much, but they had it in order. They actually won, and so in the early 1500s, King James IV gave golfing the royal seal of approval, and he became the world's first golfing monarch. After this, golf spread quickly throughout 16th century Europe. It went from Scotland to England to France and so on and so forth. Golfers. The first international golf match was held in Leith, which is near Edinburgh, in 1682, over 300 years ago. But golf officially became a sport when the gentlemen golfers of Leith formed the first club in the 1700s. They had an annual competition that had silverware prizes. The rules for that annual competition are very similar to the modern rules of golf. The Open Championship, or British Open, is the oldest tournament in golf, and it still goes on today. It was originally played in 1860 in Ayrshire, Scotland. In the 19th century, British expanded, and golf did with it. The first club that was not in Scotland was the Royal Blackheath, which was near London in the 1700s. The railway. In the Victorian era, thanks to the railway, ordinary people could get outside of their small towns and cities a lot easier for the first time. So a lot of golf courses started popping up all over the countryside. And thanks to this, coupled with new mass production methods for golf clubs and golf balls, the game became more affordable. The popularity of golf skyrocketed. USA. The first 18-hole course in America was the Chicago Golf Club in 1893. Just a year after that, the USGA, or United States Golfing Association, was established in 1894 to regulate the game in America. By 1900, more than 1,000 golf clubs have been formed throughout the USA in only 7 years. The Professional Golf Association of America, or PGA, was founded in 1916, and it still goes on today. Through commercial sponsorships in America, USA quickly became the center for the professional game of golf. But some of the most famous courses are still found where golfing originated, in Scotland. Golf club progression. In the 1500s, a set of golf clubs consisted of long noses for driving, grass drivers for medium range shots, spoons for short shots, niblets, which are similar to wedges, and a cleek for putting. The first commissioned golf clubs were to King James IV of Scotland when he hired a bowmaker to craft him a set. He later made the bowmaker the Royal Club maker. The shafts of these clubs were made out of soft woods, and the club heads were made out of hardwoods. They were connected with a splint and bound together with a leather strap. Wooden clubs were very expensive due to the amount of time and effort it took to make them. Plus, they were prone to break, so golfing was only for rich people. In the 1600s, thanks to the feathery golf ball, it allowed people to start experimenting with more materials on the club's face, such as leather, metal, even bone fragments, and many more. They tried to use these to increase the distance the ball would travel and to prevent breakage of the club. In the 1700s, the first club head made of iron emerged from blacksmith shops. These were used for niblets or wedges. And also in the 1800s was the first use of hickory for golf club shafts. This quickly became the standard thanks to the amount of availability and durability of hickory. It came from the USA. Also in the 1800s was a gutty golf ball. This made Bulgers got replaced long noses, and they had a bulbous club head which looked very similar to modern woods. In In the late 1800s, factories started mass producing iron club heads, making them more consistent, lighter, and better than blacksmith-made club heads. In 1900, persimmon wood was the wood of choice for club heads. It also came from the USA. In 1908, people discovered that grooves, which are these lines on the club face, would increase more backspin and generate more distance for the ball to travel. In the early 1900s, there's a lot of experimentation and innovation in club design, such as the steel shaft. It was introduced in the US in 1900, although blacksmiths had been using it since the late 1890s. The RNA, or Royal and Ancient, legalized steel shafted clubs after the Prince of Wales used them on the Old Course of St. Andrews in 1929, almost 30 years later. The steel shaft offered greater accuracy and durability for the golf club. Until the mid-1900s, golfers carried 20 to 30 golf clubs in their bag for one round of golf. But thanks to these steel shafted clubs, the RNA introduced a 14 club rule, which meant that golfers could only carry 14 clubs in their bag for one round of golf. Along with this, the traditional nature clubs like Niblex and Cleek were replaced by the standard numbering system we see today, like a driver or a 7-iron. In the 1900s, a new casting method for manufacturing club heads made them a lot more affordable. TaylorMade was the first company to produce metal club-headed wood. This thing I'm taking off right now is called a club head cover. Most people think it is to protect the club head. When it was invented, when they saw hickory shafts, it was to protect the shaft with this part from shorter clubs. People are still mostly using Persimmon club heads until in 1991, when the big Bertha driver by Callaway was released. It had an oversized metal club head and was the first of its kind. This is not the big Bertha, but it is a driver with an oversized big metal club head. Modern day golf uses titanium club heads and graphite shafts. This has a titanium club head with a graphite shaft. Golf ball progression. As I said before, golfing started with people just hitting round rocks and pebbles. But the first man-made golf balls were wooden golf balls. They were very inefficient and most likely made of hardwoods like beech or boxer. They were first used in the early 1500s on the eastern coast of Scotland. In the 1600s, featheries were invented. These were feather-stuffed, leather-covered golf balls. Most people consider these the first real golf balls. They were made while the leather and feathers were still wet. The leather shrunk while drying, and the feathers expanded to create a hardened, compact golf ball. They were then painted and sold for more than a golf club. Why does it cost that much, you might ask? Well, it took 1 bucket of boiled goose feathers to make a single feathery ball. A skilled feathering maker could only produce about 4 balls a day. They were virtually impossible to make one truly round. A golfer could get as few as 2 rounds out of one golf ball. And if they got wet, the feathered golf ball would just fall apart. And they were playing in Scotland, it wasn't exactly dry there. The gutty golf ball was created in the mid-1800s from the dry sap of a sapodilla tree. It had a rubber-like feel and was formed by heating up the sap and shaping it while it was still hot. This made the long noses or drivers obsolete. The gutty had a very big impact in golf due to its affordability, playability, and durability. Rubber core golf balls. These were invented in the 1800s, the late 1800s, with association with the B.F. Goodrich Company. This new design featured a solid rubber core with high-tension rubber thread wrapped around the core and a gutta-percha cover. They are very similar to the ones used today. Modern golf balls have a solid rubber core with a plastic or resin cover. In conclusion, today I went over the history of golf, the history of golf clubs, and the history of golf balls. Here are my sources. Any questions?